Check Podcasts.
Hi, I'm Bruce Williams. I'm the CEO of the Greater Victoria Chamber of Commerce. This is Chamber Chats. Chamber Chats is made possible by the support of Island Savings, a division of First West Credit Union. As always, we are coming to you today from the podcasting studios at Czech Television and the Czech Media Group. And I would like to begin, as always, by acknowledging that I live and work in the unceded ancestral territory of the Lekwungen-speaking nations, known to us as the Songhees and the Esquimalt. I have a little bit of laryngitis, by the way. I'll apologize for that right off the top. In the world of business right now, in the world of everything, we are watching things happen like the rise in interest rates. And when people operate businesses, they have the intention very often to want to grow that business. The ability to grow very often depends on them accessing capital or turning their success into some sort of resource that they can use to capitalize and grow their business. There's been a bit of a challenge of that for some people, depending on the size of their business, and the prospects of them finding that support can be somewhat limited. But today on Chamber Chats, we're going to find out about some alternatives for that and something that you may or may not know a lot about with an organization called BDC. Shayne Beadall joins us to talk about that. He's an account manager with BDC. Shayne, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Bruce? Thank you for having me today.
You bet. So let's imagine you're speaking with someone you've never met before. They say, what do you do? You say, I'm an account manager with BDC. How do you explain to them what BDC is and what you do?
Fantastic question. So to kick things off, I eagerly let them know that BDC is so unique in the lending sphere, first and foremost. So we're actually governed at BDC by a purposeful mandate, Bruce, to support the growth of Canadian businesses as a whole. Our sole shareholder is the Government of Canada, making us a development-focused bank that is also a Crown corporation. And this isn't something you hear every day. So to kind of dig a little bit further into that, Bruce, what I'll do is I'll tell you a little bit more about our impact-driven mission and our mandate at BDC, as that really does shape what we do and why we do it.
Okay.
First is our mission. So that's to help create and develop Canadian businesses through strategic financing, access to capital, and advisory services. So it's a three-pronged business model. And specifically, we're focused on small and medium-sized enterprises, or SMEs. It's an acronym that you'll hear very often in the entrepreneurial ecosystem. And as an account manager, further to that, my role is to support these businesses through those unique growth journeys as both a catalyst and a connector to make it happen. Now, in addition to that, I'll dive into our mandate as this further plays a role into what we do and why we do it. So we have a three-pronged mandate as well, Bruce, and it's to complement the role played by private sector financial institutions or chartered banks. It's to position ourselves to fill in gaps in the lending market, as you noted, and maximize financing alternatives for business owners locally, regionally, provincially, and nationally. And last but not least, it's to be profitable and operate at no cost to the Canadian taxpayer. And that kind of sums up what we do and why we do it in a nutshell.
Okay. You know, a long time ago, Ronald Reagan, when he was president, got famous for saying, the last thing anybody wants to hear is, I'm here from the government and I'm here to help. Well, that's not the case with you guys, with BDC. So, you know, as you gave that explanation to someone you'd never met, you are a bank, but not really. So you're not a typical bank. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say for sure. It's 110% true. So in line with that mission and mandate that I just talked about, Bruce, we've been able to adopt a unique approach to the world of financing for that reason, including that specialized commitment that I noted to Canadian entrepreneurs and their businesses. So to kind of dive into that further now, we're actually the first financial institution in Canada to receive the B Corp certification. We've had that since 2013. And what B Corps are, they're actually a corporation that acts holistically to benefit society. So it's really that juggle between purpose and profit. And one of the ways that we've been a B Corp is, of course, we operate at no cost to the Canadian taxpayer. But at the same time, we've been able to extend our reach to underserved entrepreneurs, emergent industries, and generate greater social and economic impact in the entrepreneurial ecosystem by doing that.
Yeah, we're going to drill down into what you do and sort of unpack a lot of what BDC is all about. I mean, government wants businesses to succeed because that's the prosperity that creates our economy. It drives it forward and it frankly underwrites a lot of what the government does. So within the business landscape, who do you work with? Let's be direct about that.
Yeah, so we actually have such a diversified portfolio, and that's at the local level, that's at the provincial level, and then that's nationally as well. So we have specialized teams dedicated to support clients of all sizes and in virtually all industries on both the financing, the advisory side of the equation, which I can dive into further down the line. I know we will in the chamber chat.
Mhm.
But just to quantify that a little bit further of who we work with, kind of the numbers to give this some more gravity. Employed at BDC, we have 2,600 employees across Canada. And those 2,600 employees, Bruce, they support over 96,000 entrepreneurial clients across the country. And what that equates to, $45 billion plus of capital deployed for those SMEs. And in addition to that, over 99% of all Canadian businesses fall into that SME category, which is businesses with between one employee up to 499 employees. And last but not least, our clients themselves, they actually employ 1 million Canadians. So it's a big impact that BDC is able to have at everything from that local level all the way up to the national level.
Yeah, and that small business model is also the backbone of chambers of commerce, including Greater Victoria Chamber. So that's who you kind of work with. I bet you've got a bit of a wish list, and I want to talk about that next. Chamber Chats today, we are talking about BDC. It's a division of the federal government in Canada. It's an organization that helps support small business in ways that traditional banks can't do that. Shayne Beadall is with me. He's an account manager. So we talked a little bit about the framework of what you do. Do you have like a hit list? Do you have people that you would like to work with that you really want to pursue to help them succeed?
We do, Bruce. So who we work best with and who we would like to be targeting moving forward, it really actually comes down to the mindset. It's businesses who are looking to take things to the next level. And I'm speaking from experience here. So our best clients, as in the ones who get the absolute most from the services that we're able to provide, because they're growth oriented, our financing, our advisory, and our capital initiatives, those are the ones who are best served by a partnership with the BDC and our respective partners.
We have seen some sectors, and certainly in the chamber world, we see this. There are very often referred to as underrepresented sectors. They are indigenous business, for example, impacted by the effects of colonialism. They haven't been able to prosper and grow the way that they perhaps could have. You support those elements within the economy. Tell me about that. How do you do that?
Certainly. So to kick things off, BDC, we've extended our reach to underserved entrepreneurs and emergent industries. And like I said earlier, that's to generate greater social and economic impact. Starting with diversity and inclusion, those are actually part of our business strategies and values. So they're fully ingrained in what we do and apparent in our mandate and our mission as well. And so we want the organization BDC and the people working in it to actually reflect Canada's increasingly diverse workforce. So that's the starting point. We actually have diversity, equity, and inclusion teams that are focused on helping out these underserved industries and entrepreneurs. And what they've identified, Bruce, is there's three main barriers for underserved markets: money, information, connections, all of which we can help with directly and through our partnership ecosystems. And so with that said, our purpose here is to ensure that Canadian entrepreneurs, they have access to those resources, financing, advice, networks, and tools that they need to succeed. And I actually do have, to dive into it more at a more granular level, I have some initiatives that I can talk about with you today that we do offer here or that our partners offer as well.
Yeah, we're going to dig into that. I want to also, you deal with female entrepreneurs who still have challenges that those who are not females face all the time. I hear it every day of my life. But tell me about what you do in particular with female entrepreneurs.
For sure. So we offer loans to women-owned and led companies. And BDC actually recently launched a $500 million Thrive Venture Fund and Lab. And that's specifically, Bruce, to support Canadian women-led tech businesses. So the Thrive platform, to break that down a little bit further, it comprises of $300 million towards a direct investment fund and a $100 million lab. And in addition to that, a $100 million indirect investment envelope. And what that does as a whole, it provides a comprehensive approach to addressing those barriers that we talked about faced by women entrepreneurs. And that's just one of the ways we help.
You talk about diversity, inclusion, equity. At the Chamber, we've established a committee that's directed toward that. It's called the IDEA Committee, Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, Advancement Committee. And we work with those folks to represent the elements of the economy, again, that have been underrepresented or have found particular challenges. So let's talk about that. How does BDC help support like Black-owned businesses or South Asian, Hispanic, LGBTQ, people with different levels of ability? Tell me about that.
Certainly. So I'll dive into a few more of our initiatives as well.
Mm.
So we do have partners that support financing. We actually partner with them for Black entrepreneurs. So there's different products here. I'll dive into a couple of them. One of them is a $250,000 business loan led by FACE is the organization it's called, and we work in unison with them. Another is a $60,000 loan plus mentorship for entrepreneurs, younger entrepreneurs age 18 to 39. And that's led by another partner of ours called Futurepreneur. And then there's the Black Innovation Fund, Bruce. So that's a venture fund for Black-led tech startups, and that's led by Black Innovation Capital. In addition to that, we have a newcomer loan that BDC offers directly, which helps immigrants handle the typical challenges of running a successful business in Canada. And then last but not least, I'll dive into our Indigenous Entrepreneur Loan, or IEL. And so that's a business loan for up to $350,000 to help Indigenous entrepreneurs grow or scale their business. And what it involves, just to highlight some of the key differentiators here, Bruce, flexible repayment terms, cash flow preservation, those are just standard within what we do and how we do it as a lender. But further to that, they get preferred rates. There's no processing or annual administration fees, so there's no fees. And it's actually a loan that gives back to charity as well. So that's the key point I want to make here. So BDC will actually give back a part of the interest paid on the loan to a registered charity of that Indigenous entrepreneur's choice.
Cool. That's a great investment plan. I'll mention that the website is bdc.ca if you want to check that out as we go through this conversation with Shayne today. You know, it's great to give somebody a bag of money but if they don't know what to do with it, there's really not a whole lot that can be done. So you also offer business advisory services. So let's talk about the business planning part first.
Let's do it. So here at BDC, Bruce, we know firsthand that entrepreneurs, they do need more than just money to succeed. You noted it yourself.
Yeah.
So that's why we've been specializing in advisory services actually for over 40 years. So over 4 decades, we've been doing this. Simply put, what our advisory services aim to do is to help entrepreneurs operate smarter and refine how they work on their business rather than in their business. Our goal with our advisory services is to help clients identify and overcome those current and future business challenges and to remain competitive. Because as we know, as the business landscape inevitably evolves, as we've seen with the COVID-19 pandemic, businesses must evolve to stay competitive and to keep up.
You also have to make sure that people know how to manage their money. Financial management is again, you might have a strategy, you might have the money, but you got to manage the money. So tell me how you do that.
Correct. So financial management, that's one of the ways that we can help on the advisory side. With all of our advisory solutions, Bruce, we have increasing sales, optimizing productivity, optimizing technology, strengthening management capabilities, online sales, which is such a big one as we come out of the pandemic. And last but not least, I saved the best for last, it's digitalizing your business. Right now, through the CDAP initiative, we actually have government grants and interest-free loans to be able to work with a BDC advisor for businesses to come in and level up digitally, actually get that support they need at a fraction of the cost that it would normally be. But just going back to the financial management piece, with all of our business solutions, we're going to have certified coaches come in, do a deep dive on the specific business, and we pair them up with entrepreneurs that have relevant skill set, relevant experience, so that they can really hit it off together. They've got those synergies to work well, and that's why we have such a high satisfaction rate with our advisory services.
Yeah, I know that BDC also works with clients to talk about efficiencies and effectiveness. Because again, if you've got the money and you got everything going on, and you have to find ways to find those efficiencies too. The other part of this, though, that you can help with is managing people. I want to talk about that next. Chamber Chats today, we're talking with Shayne Beadall, who is an account manager with BDC. It's a division of the federal government. They can be involved actively in helping people better manage and finance their businesses. So, yeah, managing people, Shayne, the HR side of things, that can be one of the great challenges if, again, people don't have a lot of experience in that. Tell me what you do to support HR.
That's correct. So one of our solutions that we have that I'll note is called leadership and management, Bruce. So that's really, really big when it comes to business transitions. Say we have a client that has a succession plan and they want to pass over that business to the current management team. They have employees that are hungry to take over that business and be part of that succession plan. So what we do is we get them paired up with the right coach, and it will work with the current owner, the prospective owners, which could be employees, and ensure that the right management capabilities are in place, once again, for that specific business culture, and the interworkings of that business to ensure success moving forward. So that's just one example of how we can help on the managing people side of things.
Yeah, that whole succession piece to it, like where I am, Czech Media Group is an employee-owned company. There's companies like Kinetic Construction are employee-owned companies, so they've got equity involved in what they're doing all the time too. But whatever you're doing, again, you got the people, you got the money, you got the business plan. But if nobody knows what you're doing and how you're doing it, how do you guys assist with sales and marketing?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we have a sales and marketing specific solution as well. That can be everything from your run of the mill marketing, but nowadays it's more focused on the digital side of things. So digital marketing is such a big piece of what our advisors do. Once again, without getting too granular, our advisors are going to come in, they're going to do a deep dive on that specific business, and they're going to determine where those biggest areas for opportunity are, identify those with the client, and help figure out a strategy moving forward so that business can grow, that business can level up, and ultimately that entrepreneur can help reach their vision of where they see the business in 1, 2, 3 years time.
Yeah, and as we've noted for some time now, especially coming out of the pandemic, technology is the way of the future. It's the way of the current life that we all live, and it's been a significant part of our recent past. But when you're working with SMEs, small medium enterprise, these are people who have to be able to keep up with the big dogs, right? That are doing maybe the same thing they are, but on a much larger scale. So if they can't keep up with technology, they're going to be left behind. So you do that technical advice as well, right?
That is correct. And that's just going back to the CDAP initiative that I talked about. The government, through ISED, the Innovation Sciences and Economic Development Department of Canada, Bruce, they've actually put out $4 billion towards this. It's a $4 billion initiative with funds towards, like I said, grants for businesses to work with certified advisors to build a digital adoption plan or strategy. And then also some of those funds go towards the interest-free implementation capital that applicants would be able to apply for once they go through that digital advising piece. So it's really that end-to-end solution. And later in the chat, we'll talk about just an example of that, how I've seen it come to fruition with a client alike in the local market.
And any size business, large or small, again, at the Chamber, we hear this every single day. And I'm going to ask you this question. Can BDC help businesses find workers? Can you help them source workforce?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we can, in the way of building a strategy in order to help them do so. So they would be able to work with a consultant, build a strategy about how to source workforce. But then also a big piece of that is the automation side of things. That's one of the best ways to combat the current labor shortage. In one of those examples that I'm going to bring up at the end of this call, how to implement technology and get around that. You're going to have more of your employees doing those value add activities, especially as the cost of labor goes up. It's hard to find the right employees. Have them doing the right things and figure out where you can automate. It's a better allocation of your resources. And right now, employees and labor, it's the biggest expense on the income statement, and it's also one of the biggest constraints because right now it's so hard to find workers. Every entrepreneur that I talk with, that's a topic of conversation.
Yeah, you look at our economy here in Greater Victoria, tourism, huge part. Well, tech, we've talked about tech. Tech is our largest employment sector. Tourism just got whacked during the pandemic. They're trying to get their way back right now, too. Food and beverage, the same thing. Manufacturing, the construction, all of those sectors have to work to stay nimble and they have to stay, on top of everything all the time. What are some specifics of how you can help those sectors?
Certainly. So those sectors that you noted, Bruce, so they do make up a substantial portion of our market share. Like I said, just coming back to what BDC targets, it's those growth-oriented entrepreneurs, and that's at the core of what we do. One incentive that we actually have for manufacturers and exporters in town here is they get a 1% rate discount for select financing initiatives that we offer. But just going back to that, we want energetic, enthusiastic, hungry, growth-oriented entrepreneurs rather than targeting so much specific segments in
Yeah,
town.
yeah. Small business is the backbone of our economy. It's the backbone of our Chamber of Commerce. It's what kind of makes things go around. So this kind of support from BDC is important for those businesses. Let's talk some dollars and cents here. You're not walking around handing out 10 and $20 million grants here, right? What are the amounts of money that can be invested?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we're a cash flow based lender, Bruce, and what that means is it'll always be dependent on a business's ability to support the proposed financing. And where we're unique here at BDC is oftentimes we're looking at the historical, we're looking at the current, and as a gross lender, we're also having a forward-looking approach integrated into how we're doing an analysis on said businesses, right? The qualitative as well as the quantitative factors are a big portion of that. And it's really a balancing act to ensure we have the right narrative for our clients. But I can talk a little bit more about a few processes that we have
Mhm.
and the limitations around those for financing. So first and foremost is our online financing process. So that's a quick and easy application, completely virtual for clients to be able to apply for up to $100,000. So that's a fantastic one. I was actually an analyst in that department prior to becoming an account manager with the Victoria branch. So I've worked with many of those entrepreneurs going through that process and getting that flexible capital up to 100,000 very quick and easy.
We are just about out of time, but
Next,
sorry, just about out of time. But I want to ask you a question that I'm sure that the listeners are wondering right now.
sure.
What's the repayment schedule look like?
Yeah, it's a great question. So for our online financing loans, the repayment schedule is it's going to be 5 years with a 6 months interest only period. It can be paid down anytime penalty free, which is fantastic. It gives them maximum flexibility, if they do start generating cash flows quicker than anticipated.
Okay, we're going to probably have to do this again sometime because we didn't get through everything that we can talk about with BDC, but we'll always recommend that people go to the website, bdc.ca. Shayne, you and your colleagues are based in Victoria. You have an office at 1515 Douglas, but
That's
outreach,
correct.
yeah, outreach can happen through, that's the building across from Victoria City Hall, by the way. So outreach through the website, I guess, is the best way to contact you folks. Or if you need to, you can contact me at the Chamber and I can connect you with BDC as well. And I am, of course, CEO at victoriachamber.ca. Shayne Beadall is an account manager, rather, with BDC. And if you recognize him, he was born and raised in Ladysmith. Maybe that's why you're going, hey, I know that guy from someplace. But Shayne, thanks so much for being with us today.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity, Bruce.
You bet. Again, the website is bdc.ca. And I'm Bruce Williams. We'll see you again for another Chamber Chat.